My parents sold the luxury resort. Stay I gifted them for their anniversary. The night before the trip, my mother laughed. I sold the voucher for cash. Did you really think we'd go without you watching? My sister chuckled. Thanks for the extra cash. I left without a word. Days later, they called me panicked, but I'd already made sure it was too late. My mother laughed and said it like it was a cute little family joke. I sold the voucher for cash. Did you really think we'd go without you watching? She had one hand on her coffee mug and the other on her hip, standing in her kitchen like she was the smartest person in the room. My sister Lacey leaned against the fridge, scrolling on her phone, and chuckled. Thanks for the extra cash. I didn't answer, not because I didn't have anything to say. I had so much to say it felt like it might split my teeth apart. But in the next room, my son Noah was asleep on the pull-out couch, 8 years old, curled into a blanket I'd brought from home because my mother's guest blankets always smelled like old perfume and dust. Noah trusted me. He always trusted me. So I set my mug down, quietly, carefully, like any sudden sound might wake him. Then I walked into the living room, knelt down, and whispered, "Hey, buddy, shoes on, we're going home." Noah blinked hard like he was still in a dream. "Are we leaving?" he whispered. "Yeah," I said, "we're leaving." He sat up and looked toward the kitchen doorway. Even half asleep, he could feel tension. He always could. "Did I do something?" he asked. That question hit me harder than my mother's laugh. "No," I said, steady. "You didn't do anything." Noah nodded like he accepted it, even if his eyes didn't fully believe it yet. We packed our little overnight bag. We walked out. My mother called after me, "William, don't be petty." Lacey laughed again, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "He's mad." I didn't turn around. I drove home with my hands locked on the steering wheel. Noah stared out the window in silence for a long time. Then, quietly, he said the thing I'd been dreading. "Dad, Grandma didn't like my card, did she?" My throat tightened. "Your card was beautiful," I said. "Grandma is the one who acted wrong." Noah nodded, like he was putting that sentence in a small, safe place inside himself. He didn't cry. He didn't complain. He just got quiet, which somehow made it worse. A few days later, my phone blew up with panicked calls and angry texts. But by then, I had already made sure it was too late. I'm William. I was 41 when this happened. I lived about 25 minutes from my parents, in a calm suburban neighborhood with too many dog walkers and too many HOA emails. I'm a dentist. I own a small practice. I'm not flashy. I don't post success pictures. I just work. I fix teeth. I calm anxious patients. I negotiate with insurance companies. I pay my staff, and I try to get home in time to help with homework. I'm also a single dad. Noah's mom left when he was 3. It wasn't dramatic. It was slow. Promises and missed pickups. Until one day, there was a suitcase by the door and a quiet, flat, "I can't do this anymore." She sent birthday cards sometimes. She called on holidays when she remembered. She didn't send money. So it was me and Noah. And my family acted like that meant I was available for whatever they needed. My parents had always been the kind of people who thought family meant access. Access to your time, your money, your energy. Access to you whenever they wanted. If you said no, it wasn't a boundary. It was a betrayal. My sister Lacey learned that from them. Lacey was 2 years younger than me and always in a crisis. Always just needing a little help. Always getting back on her feet. Always one step away from disaster and somehow always landing on someone else's wallet. Usually mine. At first, when I was younger, I told myself it was temporary. The first time my mother asked for money, it was for my dad's truck repair. She cried on the phone, like the engine had exploded and they were stranded on the side of the road. "William, your father can't get to work," she said. "We'll pay you back." I paid it. They didn't pay me back. The second time, it was the electric bill. The third time, property taxes. Then it was a water heater. Then it was, "Your father's medication isn't covered this month." Then it became so normal they stopped asking like it was a favor. They started saying it like it was an arrangement. "Just send the usual," my mother would say. "Family takes care of family," my father would add. like he was quoting scripture. When my practice started doing well, the requests grew bigger. My dad retired early. My mother called it finally enjoying life. But enjoying life cost money. And my parents weren't downsizing their lifestyle. They were downsizing responsibility. Somehow, I became their backup plan. I had recurring transfers set up like bills. Every Friday, $600 to my parents. Every month, $250 to Lacey for childcare help. And I paid my parents' phone plan because my mother said, it's embarrassing when calls drop. I also paid for things that didn't show up in neat categories. Groceries, when my mother said the pantry was bare. Gas cards. Doctor copays, a new TV because their old one started flickering. And Lacey. Always Lacey. I paid her car note once, then twice. Then it became expected. I covered daycare deposits. I bought school clothes for her kids because she had a lot going on. I even fixed her boyfriend's broken tooth for free because she cried in my waiting room and said, "He can't smile, William." And every time I helped, my mother patted my cheek like I was still 12. "You're a good boy," she'd say. "You were always the responsible one." It didn't feel like praise. It felt like a job title. Through all of this, one thing stayed constant. My family didn't treat Noah like they treated Lacey's kids. They didn't scream at him. They didn't insult him directly. They did something quieter and sharper. They erased him. At Thanksgiving, my mother made place cards for everyone. Little folded names in her neat handwriting. Noah's spot was blank. She said she ran out of time, like you run out of time to write 8 letters. At Christmas, Lacey's kids got big toys and perfectly wrapped gifts. Noah got socks and a small coloring book. "Oh, he's easy," my mother laughed. "He doesn't need much." At my father's birthday, they took a grandkids-only photo and posted it online. Noah had been in the bathroom. Nobody waited. When I mentioned it, my mother said, "Well, he wasn't here." Noah noticed. Of course he noticed. He just didn't complain. That was the part that broke my heart slowly over time. He learned to be quiet about being hurt. And I kept telling myself it wasn't personal. I told myself they just didn't know how to connect with him. I told myself it would get better. Then came their 40th anniversary, and I finally saw the truth in one clear line. My parents had been talking about their anniversary for months. My mother would sigh dramatically and say, 40 years. Some people get trips and surprises. We just get older, my father would add. We worked our whole lives. It'd be nice to enjoy something. I heard it enough times that it started feeling like a hint, like a bill waiting to be paid. So I saved, not by starving, by being careful. I cut back on extras. I pushed off a few home projects. I made lunches instead of buying them. I told myself it would be worth it to see my parents happy, to see Noah included in a warm family moment, to feel like we belonged. I bought a luxury resort voucher package about 2 hours away. 2 nights. Spa credit, dinner included. The kind of place with robes in the closet and cucumber water in the lobby. I didn't book it like a regular reservation. I bought a gift package that came in a nice envelope and brochure. 6 weeks before the anniversary dinner, my mother insisted on meeting me in private. We met in my office parking lot after I finished a long day. I remember because my back ached and my shirt smelled faintly like glove powder and mint rinse. I handed her the envelope. She opened it and her mouth actually fell open. "Oh, William," she breathed. Her eyes got shiny. "You didn't have to." My father nodded like a judge approving a sentence. "That's my son," he said, always stepping up. I felt proud for about 10 seconds. Then, my mother tucked the envelope into her purse and said, immediately, "Now you'll watch the kids those nights, right? So we can really relax?" The question was so fast it felt rehearsed. I blinked. "It's for you two." "Exactly," she said sweetly. "So you'll handle the kids." I laughed awkwardly because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. "I'll figure something out," I said, trying to keep it light. My mother smiled like she'd won. I should have stopped it right there. But I still thought it could be normal. The anniversary dinner was at their favorite steakhouse. Dark wood, candles, heavy napkins, prices that made you check the menu twice. My parents loved it because it made them feel important. My mother wore pearls. My father wore a blazer. Lacey showed up late, loud, already acting like the night was hers too. Noah came with me. He wore a button-up shirt and held his sketchbook carefully, like it was fragile. He was nervous because he wanted to do something nice. Halfway through the meal, Noah touched my arm. "Dad," he whispered, "I made Grandma something." He pulled out a folded card from his sketchbook. Thick paper, slightly uneven edges, like he'd cut it himself. He stood a little and offered it with both hands. My mother took it with one hand, distracted, and opened it. Inside, Noah had drawn two people sitting on a bench under trees. He'd colored the leaves in soft greens and oranges. Under it, in careful block letters, he wrote, "Happy 40 years. I hope you rest. Love, Noah." My mother stared for 1 second. Then she laughed. Not the soft, touched laugh you'd expect. A short, sharp laugh like someone handed her junk mail. "Oh, honey," she said, folding it back up. "You don't have to do all that." And she slid it half under her purse like it was clutter. Noah's face turned red. He sat down quickly and stared at his water. Lacey glanced at the card and smirked. "He's always making little crafts, isn't he? Must be nice to have that kind of time." Noah's fingers tightened around his sketchbook. I felt my throat go tight. I wanted to say, "He did it because he loves you." But my mother was smiling like everything was fine, and the restaurant was full of people, and I already knew how it would go if I confronted her. She'd act attacked, she'd cry. My father would tell me to respect my mother. Lacey would call me dramatic, so I swallowed it. Later, the waiter brought dessert menus. My mother waved them away. "We're doing cake at home," she said. "The grandkids will be waiting." She said grandkids like it had a definition. Then my father leaned back, satisfied. "Tomorrow, we finally relax." Lacey chuckled. "Relax, yeah." Then she looked at me and said, "Casual. So you're watching the kids tomorrow night?" I blinked. "What?" My mother didn't even hesitate. "Obviously. The resort is a couple's place. It would be awkward if you brought Noah." Noah stared down at his water like it suddenly mattered a lot. "And Lacey needs a break," my mother added. "She's exhausted." Lacey lifted her wine glass. "Cheers." I kept my voice calm. "The voucher was for you two. It wasn't a childcare arrangement." My father shrugged. "It's one weekend. You're young, you don't need it." I almost laughed at the word young. I was 41. I owned a business. I was responsible for a child. I paid for half the people at this table, but I looked at Noah and said, "We'll see." My mother's eyes narrowed just slightly, warning me not to push. We went back to their house for cake. The cake was big and frosted, with 40 candles. Lacey's kids were already there running around like they owned the place. My mother lit the candles. Everyone sang. Noah sang quietly too. When the song ended, my father clapped. Pictures. They lined up Lacey's kids in the center, my parents on either side, Lacey behind them. Noah stepped forward automatically. My mother put her hand out like a traffic cop. "Not you," she said, still smiling. "This one is for the memory wall. Just the ones who are here all the time." Noah froze. He didn't cry. He didn't argue. He just stepped back like he'd been pushed. Lacey chuckled. "Mom, you're so picky." My mother waved her off. "I like things a certain way." I stood there, holding the phone for the photo because nobody even asked me to be in it. And in that moment, it hit me. They would publicly exclude my child with a smile on their faces. And they expected me to keep paying them for the privilege. We stayed the night at my parents' house because my mother insisted it would make things easier. Noah slept on the pull-out couch. I barely slept at all. Morning came. Coffee smell. Cereal boxes. My father humming in the living room. My mother walked into the kitchen, in her robe, and said casual, "Oh, by the way, I sold the voucher." I turned slowly. "What?" She took a sip of coffee like she was savoring it. "I sold it to Sandra from church," she said. "She gave me cash. Good cash." I just stared. She laughed. "Did you really think we'd go without you watching?" Lacey walked in behind her and smirked. "Thanks for the extra cash." My mother nodded like they were a team. "We're doing something more practical. Your father wants a new grill." My father called from the living room, "A really good grill." Then my mother added, "Since we're not going, you can still take the kids today. Lacey needs a break." Lacey didn't ask. Drop off is at 10. My mother finished it with the cruelest line, like she was giving advice. It'll be good for Noah to spend time with the cousins. He needs to learn to fit in. Fit in like he wasn't already trying, like he wasn't already shrinking. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just walked into the living room, woke Noah, and left. At home, Noah went to his room and closed the door. I stood in my kitchen, staring at the counter like it could tell me what to do next. Then I did the one thing I should have done years ago. I made one calm, clean financial move. I opened my banking app. There it was. The recurring transfer I'd set up like it was a utility bill. $600 weekly. Parents support. I tapped it. I hit cancel recurring transfer. A confirmation screen popped up. Recurring transfer canceled. Effective immediately. I stared at that line until my heartbeat slowed. Then I found the next one. $250 monthly. Lacey Childcare Assist. Canceled. Then the phone plan. $180 monthly. Parents phone plan. Canceled. No speeches, no warnings, no bargaining. Just done. Then I called my credit card company. Years ago, my mother begged to be an authorized user for emergencies. I believed her. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be a good son. She used it for emergencies, like manicures and online shopping were emergencies. I told the representative, calm and clear, I need to remove an authorized user immediately. They asked for verification. I gave it. Done, the rep said. Then I called the resort, not to scream, not to argue, to confirm something I needed to know. Hi, I said, I purchased a voucher package. Is it transferable? The woman on the phone was polite. It depends on the terms. I read her the voucher number from my email. She paused. This voucher is non-transferable, she said. It's linked to the purchaser's name unless you authorize a name change. My mouth went dry. So my mother had sold something she didn't have the legal right to sell. What happens if someone else tries to use it? I asked. It would be flagged, she said. They'd be asked for identification. I didn't hesitate. I'd like to cancel it, I said. There was a cancellation fee. Money I wouldn't get back. I paid it anyway. Because if my mother could turn my gift into cash and laugh at me, then that gift was no longer a gift. It was a weapon. The woman processed it. Then she said, it's canceled. And something inside me clicked into place. Not joy, not revenge, relief. The fallout hit on Friday, transfer day. At 9:12 a.m., my phone buzzed with a missed call from my mother, then another, then my father, then Lacey. By 9:30, my voicemail was filling up. My mother's first voicemail was sharp. William, call me. Something is wrong with the bank. Lacey texted, did you mess with mom's money? My father texted, we need to talk. This is serious. Then my mother's tone changed from anger to panic. The transfer didn't come, she said in another voicemail. The card isn't working. We have bills set up. Call me back. Then she added, like it was a magic word that would make me fold. Don't do this to us over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Like she hadn't laughed. Like Noah hadn't been told, not you. That evening, after Noah was asleep, I checked my phone again. More calls, more texts. None asking about Noah. Then my mother texted the thing that told me she was in trouble for real. Sandra is at the resort. They said the voucher is canceled. What did you do? So Sandra had actually tried to use it. My mother had already taken the cash. And now the lie was collapsing in public. I replied once. Just once. You sold a gift I gave you and laughed about using me for childcare. You also humiliated my son. I'm done funding this. Then I put my phone down. They showed up at my house the next morning. My mother, my father, and Lacey. Like a 3-person pressure team. My mother didn't say hello. She said, what is wrong with you? My father stepped forward. You can't cut us off like this. I can, I said. My mother's eyes flashed. You ruined our anniversary. You sold the voucher, I said. You ruined it, she scoffed. It was ours to decide what to do with. It was non-transferable, I said. So you sold something that wasn't yours to sell. My father muttered, that woman is furious. I'm sure she is, I said. My mother leaned closer. This is petty. This is a tantrum. I kept my voice even. This is a boundary. My father scoffed. Over a joke? I said, "You told Noah not to get in the photo." My mother waved her hand. It was for the memory wall. "He's your grandson," I said. My mother's mouth tightened. "He's your son." Behind me, Noah's humming stopped. He was in the hallway, holding a Lego piece, watching quietly. That line from my mother told me everything. In her mind, Noah wasn't truly theirs. He was mine, so he was optional. I looked at my mother and said calmly, "You need to leave." She stared like she couldn't believe it. "William, you're off my accounts," I said. "All of them. I'm not your backup bank." My father's face darkened. "After everything we did for you, you didn't even apologize to Noah," I said. My mother blinked. "He's a child." "Yes," I said. "That's why you should be ashamed." Lacey rolled her eyes. "Oh my God." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult them, I just repeated the truth. "I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of," I said. My mother hissed. "You'll regret this." I said, "Maybe, but I won't regret choosing my son." Then I closed the door, locked it, and let my hands shake where they couldn't see. For weeks, they tried everything: guilt, anger, fake concern. My mother sent screenshots of bills. My father sent lectures about respect. Lacey sent insults mixed with panic. My mother told people I was unstable, that I was having a breakdown, that I was being influenced. Because my family couldn't imagine I'd made a calm decision on my own. They never once asked, "How is Noah?" They never once said, "We're sorry." They asked about money and embarrassment. Lacey even showed up at my office, insisting it was a family emergency. I stepped into the hallway still wearing gloves. "You can't do this," she hissed. "Mom is freaking out. Dad is embarrassed. Sandra is telling everyone at church. Not my problem," I said. Lacey's eyes widened. "So you're just going to let them drown?" "I've been keeping them afloat for years," I said. She sneered. "You're a dentist. You make good money. And I have a kid," I said. "And I have goals. And I have limits." Lacey's voice went sharp. "You always act like you're better." "I'm not better," I said. "I'm just done." She stared at me like she didn't recognize me without the open wallet. Then she left, slamming the door hard enough that my assistant flinched. A month later, Noah's school held family night. Pizza in the cafeteria. Folding chairs. Kids singing slightly off-key. Noah brought home the flyer and asked, "Can we go?" "Of course," I said. He hesitated. "Do I have to invite Grandma?" That question was the real consequence of my family's behavior. My 8-year-old didn't feel safe inviting his own grandparents. "No," I said. "You don't have to invite anyone you don't feel safe with." Noah nodded, relief softening his face. That night, he sang with his class. Quiet, but steady. Afterward, he ran to me smiling. "Did you hear me?" "I heard you," I said. "You were great." He pulled out his sketchbook and showed me a drawing. 2 stick figures holding hands in front of a little house. Above it, he wrote, "Our family." I hugged him right there in the cafeteria. He hugged back and whispered, "I like it better when it's just us." I nodded. Me too. I heard later that my parents had to downsize. They blamed me, of course. They told people I abandoned them. Lacey complained she had to help more, which really meant she had to start paying for her own life again. They were angry. They were loud. They were embarrassed. And still, none of them apologized to Noah. So I stayed quiet. Not passive, quiet as in, I stopped chasing, I stopped bargaining, I stopped paying to be tolerated. My house got calmer. Noah stopped checking the driveway when cars slowed down. He stopped asking why Grandma didn't call. He laughed louder at home, like he was allowed to exist fully. The quiet closure came a year later on my parents' next anniversary. No fancy dinner, no steakhouse, just Noah and me in pajamas eating pancakes for dinner because he thought it was funny. He drew a new picture in his sketchbook, a resort with a pool and palm trees. But this time, it wasn't my parents. It was me and Noah in sunglasses. Above it, he wrote, "We deserve nice things too." I laughed, real and surprised. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something solid and clean inside me. Self-respect. Not revenge, not a win. Just peace. Before bed, Noah asked, "Are you still sad about Grandma?" I answered honestly, "I'm sad about what she chose, but I'm proud of what I chose." He nodded. Then he said, "I'm glad you chose me." I kissed his forehead. Always. Looking back, the resort voucher wasn't the real issue. The real issue was the way my family treated love like a transaction. They acted like my money proved my loyalty. They acted like my usefulness earned me a seat at the table. And when I stopped being useful, they called me cruel. But protecting your child isn't cruelty. Setting a calm boundary isn't drama. And you don't owe your bank account to people who make your kid feel like an outsider. I didn't make sure it was too late by destroying them. I made sure it was too late for them to keep using me. And the best part is simple. When Noah draws our family now, he doesn't leave anyone out. Neither do I.